Gemma entered a haunted house to take pictures. But suddenly, someone closed the door and locked her inside. She spent the whole day in total darkness. Then, the lights turned on, and a creepy clown appeared in front of her. "There's a game I want to play with you," he said. The clown offered Gemma 3 bowls of soup. 2 of them are poisoned and 1 is safe. If she chooses the safe one, the clown will set her free. Can you help Gemma to make a wise choice? Ingredients in the first soup look like pills. The second soup contains suspicious blue carrots. Probably these are not safe, therefore the green one is safe. Can you find a hidden number in this picture? That's right, it's 9175. Can you find a hidden number in this picture? That's right, it's 341. But I'm sure you'll manage to spot a hidden number in this picture. Well done, it's 900. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot the owner of this dog? The red-haired lady is the owner of the dog. Take a look at the dog's collar. It has a picture of the owner. Paul worked in a large company. He left the office to have lunch one day, but he didn't find his car in the parking lot. He immediately called the police. The police soon found the car and started to chase the criminal. But the criminal left the car and ran to the park. The police caught 3 suspects. Jill said she was jogging in the park. Peter was waiting for his girlfriend, and Amy was walking and enjoying nature. Who stole the car? Amy. Although she was enjoying nature, she had the same key that had gone missing. Can you find a hidden dice among all these pieces of cheese? It's over here. Although it looks like cheese, you better watch your teeth. Take a look at this pattern. Can you spot an odd detail? This bunch has more grapes than the others. Let's dive into the water for a while. The bottom of the ocean is full of life, but can you see any fish? It's hiding over here. Here's an eye challenge to read a blurred quote. Can you see this phrase? It says, "Well done is better than well said." Can you spot a panda and a soccer ball among all these snowmen? The ball is over here, and the panda is hiding in the right corner. Look at this picture very attentively. Can you see anything dangerous in this picture? A snake is hiding in the bushes. One morning, Dan went to work as usual. He was a professional athlete and had a lot of awards. When he got back home, he found out that his most valuable trophy was gone. His gold medal was stolen. He called the police to report the missing medal. The detective interrogated Bob's neighbor and found 4 suspects: Rick, Tom, Sarah, and Molly. Each neighbor was carrying a house plan. Who robbed Dan? It was Sarah. Look, the house plan matches his house perfectly. Josh ordered some delicious sushi for a picnic outdoors. Look at the picture carefully. Can you spot any odd components in this meal? There's a green caterpillar in here. See? It probably fell from a tree. I wouldn't recommend eating that anyway. Someone painted the entire playground in the park with graffiti. The police questioned 3 suspects. The detective didn't tell them what he had suspected them of. He asked one simple question. "What are you doing in this park?" Robert said he was going to the birthday of his friend who lives near the park. Rick was looking for his missing dog who had run away this morning. And Derek was just having lunch in the park. He didn't see any graffiti artists. Who is suspicious? Derek. The detective didn't say anything about the graffiti, but Derek already started defending himself. Can you find the hidden gold coin? It's over here in the left corner. Look at this pattern very attentively. Can you spot anything odd? Someone has bitten this banana. Can you find the right shadow? The correct answer is D. Can you see any numbers on this picture? The correct answer is 1479. Look at these ladies. They all look nice, but the one you choose will tell you something about your personality. If you choose the first lady, you're very friendly and easygoing. Some people may think you're too naive, but you're just a very sensitive and curious person who sees life as an adventure. If you chose the second lady, you're a very loyal and passionate person. When you're in love, you become invincible. If you chose the third lady, it means you love to have fun and nothing can confuse you or make you feel down. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot a person who's in the safest position? The guy in the car is the safest. What number do you see in this picture puzzle? Number 517. Ryan wants to get a job at the museum. He successfully passed the interview, but his employer gave him a final test. Help Ryan determine which portrait is antique. This guy is wearing a fitness tracker, so he's probably not from the Middle Ages. The lady looks very authentic, but take a look at this lamp. Therefore, the portrait of this mysterious old man is original. Good job, Ryan, you're hired. Can you spot a penguin among the toucans? This guy over here. Jack and Jill just moved into a new house. While they were unpacking their boxes, the doorbell rang. They opened the door and saw 3 neighbors standing on the porch. Kitty brought cupcakes, Mrs. Green brought soup, and Amber brought an apple pie. Help Jill and Jack identify the safe neighbor. Kitty's cupcakes contain cockroaches. Amber's cake seems to have some pills hidden in the apples. Therefore, Mrs. Green with her strange soup is the most harmless neighbor. Can you find... Time is up, it's over here. Tina was preparing a birthday dinner in the kitchen. An hour later, her friend found her unconscious on the floor. She called the ambulance and the police arrived to question witnesses. The detective discovered 3 clues: 1 sneaker, 1 glove, and 1 slipper. Then he asked the witnesses to describe what they were doing while Tina was preparing the dinner. Soon, the detective found out who poisoned Tina. How did he know? Tina left a left shoe, left glove, and left slipper. She was trying to show that the poisoner was left-handed. What's wrong with this picture? If you saw a raccoon walking on 2 legs first, you're probably a very intelligent and strong-willed person. Friends can always count on your loyalty. If you promise something, you'll never break your word. If you spotted 2 suns first, you're a very calm and open-minded person. You prefer to avoid drama and unnecessary attention. But people come to you for advice and support because you view this world as a whole, and your opinions are sage and impartial. If you noticed a tree blooming in the middle of winter, it means that you're a very romantic and sentimental person. You feel the beauty of this world very intensely, and you need an environment that will nourish your soul and appreciate your uniqueness. With this kind of support, you can easily make this world a better place. Jack is in a cold cell. There's only ground under his feet. In the cell, there is 1 window, but it's impossible to escape through it. It's located too high above the floor. There are no stairs and no chairs, just a shovel. The man needs to get out of the cell as quickly as possible. He can't dig a tunnel and go deep underground, since the walls are really thick. Jack would get exhausted long before finishing digging his way to freedom. Can you guess the easiest way out of the cell? He needs to dig a large hole in the ground and use the dirt to make a small hill. He can then climb it and reach the window. Ava has been wandering through the desert for days. She's tired, thirsty, and hungry. Finally, she arrives at an oasis. Yes! But to get to it, she needs to choose one of 3 paths. At the entrance of the first path, there's a huge dragon with 2 heads. In the middle of the second path, there are hungry tigers. And the third path is swarming with thousands of scorpions. Which path should she choose? The first path. Dragons aren't real, so she'll be safe there. Jenny walks into a cafe and orders a cappuccino. Hello. The cashier tells her it's her lucky day. She'll give Jenny her cappuccino for free if she manages to answer a riddle correctly. Yes! The cashier says, there are 2 buckets filled with water all the way to the top. The buckets are of the same height, but the temperature of the water inside the first bucket is 25 degrees Celsius. While in the second bucket, it's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. If a person drops a coin in each bucket at the same time, which coin will hit the bottom of the bucket first? It takes Jenny a few minutes to answer the riddle, but she gets it right. Can you guess what she answered? She said that first, one of the coins would hit the bottom of the first bucket. It has to do with the state of the water in each bucket. At 25 degrees Celsius, water is liquid, while at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns into ice. Emily finally went to Paris. On her first day, she bought a baguette and some cheese and went to the park to have a picnic. She sat down and cut the baguette into 4 pieces. A random person next to her said, "Hey, it took you 12 seconds to do that." Can you figure out how long it would take Emily to cut the baguette into 8 pieces? It would take 28 seconds. Here's how it works. To cut a baguette into 4 pieces, she needs to make 3 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 3 cuts, it means that she makes 1 cut in 4 seconds. Now, if she wants to cut the baguette into 8 pieces, she'll need to make 7 cuts. So, 7 cuts, 4 seconds each, 28 seconds. Every Sunday, Mrs. Moore gives her 4 daughters some pocket money. Half of the entire amount goes to the eldest daughter, Brianna. The second sister, Amy, gets half of the amount Brianna gets. Kate gets 1/6 of the total amount, and the remaining $10 goes to the youngest daughter, Nikki. How much money does Mrs. Moore give to her daughters? Once again, Brianna gets half of the money. Amy gets half of the half, which means 1/4 of the original sum, and Kate gets 1/6. They are all some fraction of 12, so Brianna gets 6/12, Amy gets 3/12, and Kate gets 3/12. Together, this adds up to 11/12, which means that Nikki gets 1/12, which equals $10. The whole sum is 12/12, which is $120. Brianna gets $60, Amy receives $30, Kate is given $20. Hey, if I were Nikki, I would complain. Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to put the day's earnings in the safe and was shocked to find out that the money was gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it was one of her workers. She asked each of them what they'd been doing that day. Sloan, the sales manager, said she'd been looking for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had finished that week. Lily, the designer, said she'd been working, but she also admitted she hadn't really been productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he needed to steal Miss Taylor's money. 2 cars, blue and red, started traveling on the same highway at the same time. The blue car is going at a speed of 60 miles per hour, and the red car is going 40 miles per hour. However, after some time on the road, they come across each other at one point. How is this possible? Well, they're traveling in opposite directions, so eventually they would pass each other anyway. Carl was a rich man who had 2 grown-up sons, Ethan and Christian. They lived in a big mansion. One day, Carl noticed that his expensive ancient vase was missing. The only people who were at home the night before were his sons. He didn't want to involve the police, so he decided to interrogate the guys himself. He saw Ethan driving through the gates. He was back from his daily visit to the gym. The young man said that the night before, he'd been practicing guitar and hadn't noticed anything strange. Then, Carl met Christian near the pool. The guy told his father, "Now I understand. Yesterday, I saw Ethan putting a box in the back seat of his car. It must have been the vase." But Carl immediately realized it was Christian who had taken the vase. How did he know? Because Ethan drives a sports car. It only has 2 seats. He couldn't have put the box in the back seat. It means Christian is lying. A math teacher told his students about Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw just 1 line and turn 9 into 6. His only condition was that the students couldn't take their pens off the paper until the line was finished. Mark was the first one to complete the task. How did he do it? He drew the letter S in front of I, X, and got 6. There's a patch of magic grass in a field, and it doubles in size every day. If on day 1 it's just a patch of grass, on day 2 it's twice bigger, and so on. It'll take 10 days for the grass to cover the entire field. How long will it take the grass to cover half of the field? The patch of grass doubles in size every day, so on the 9th day, half of the field will be covered with it. In a kingdom far, far away, an old king lived. The king was worried he had no heirs to his throne. One day, he came up with an idea. He decided to give each child in his kingdom a seed. He promised to make the child who grew the most beautiful plant his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall green plants in their hands, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? It turned out that the king had given the children fake seeds. The girl turned out to be the only honest kid. Karen is at a corporate party. Her boss, Mia, brings a bunch of identical envelopes and says, "I personally put the grand prize in one of these envelopes. It's a certificate for a trip to Bali. But no worries, the remaining envelope contains consolidation prizes prepared by our sponsors. Can you help Karen win the trip to Bali?" There's a lipstick print on this envelope. Mia has a similar lip color. She said that she had personally packed only one envelope, so the grand prize should be here. The day of Karen's flight to Bali has finally come. She calls a taxi to the airport. Soon, 3 identical taxis arrive at her porch. But only one of these drivers can actually give Karen a safe ride. Can you guess who? The second car has a flat tire, and the driver of the third taxi is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws. It's a full moon, so he'll turn into a wolf soon. Therefore, Karen should choose the first taxi. Karen's luggage is too heavy, so she goes to the cash register to pay for the excess. Oh no, her card holder is gone. Karen asks 3 people standing nearby, "Have you seen a pink card holder?" The cleaner says, "I found 2 lost wallets today, but none of them look like yours." The cashier says,
"I was busy with another customer, so I didn't look around."
And another passenger says, "Don't waste time, honey. Block your cards as soon as possible." Who stole the wallet? Nobody. Karen put it in the fold of her hat and forgot it there. See? On the plane, the steward asks Karen to switch seats with another passenger. Karen can choose one of these 3 seats. Can you help her figure out the best option? This man has very long legs, so he'll probably kick the back of Karen's chair all along. The second option is next to this elegant lady, but she's stealing money from another passenger. Probably not the best company for a long-hour flight. Although the third guy looks like a vampire, it's just a costume. He's sitting by the window, but the sun rays don't bother him, so he's the best option. Karen arrives at a fancy hotel in Bali. The manager shows her the 3 best bungalows to choose from, but only one of them is safe enough. Can you help Karen to make the best choice? The first bungalow doesn't have a door, which makes Karen an easy target for robbers and mosquitoes. And there's a scorpion under the bed in the third bungalow, so she should choose the second one. On the beach, Karen meets 3 ladies who claim to be millionaires and show her pictures to prove it. But one of them is fake rich. Can you guess who? It's the first lady. She's just modeling for an electric toothbrush commercial, so her luxury is artificial. Karen is walking down the shore and sees a party. It's a beach wedding, so the bride and groom don't wear traditional costumes. Can you find the newlyweds among these people? Take a look at the cake. The letters say Harry plus Amy. This lady is wearing a necklace with the name Amy, so she's the bride. And now, look at the flower garland around her neck. Only one person is wearing the identical garland, this guy, so he's probably the groom. Karen spots her former classmate, Tom, among the guests. He's talking to a strange lady. The lady is wearing a hoodie and standing with her back turned to Karen. So Karen can't see her face. Tom and the lady leave together and hide from everyone on the roof of the beach restaurant where the party takes place. Later that night, Karen also visits the roof. There's no one else here, but after checking the roof, Karen knows for sure which of these three ladies is Tom's secret girlfriend. How did she know? The third lady's dress is decorated with gold sequins. She lost one sequin on the roof. Tom sees Karen and invites her for a walk along the shore. She spots four weird things right away. Can you see them too? A mermaid is hiding in the waves. This sandcastle has electric lighting. Tree branches flutter in the wind to the right, but the flags to the left. And finally, the moon has a creepy face. The next morning, Karen goes to the buffet breakfast. She wants to get a smoothie, but there's no information about the ingredients in English. Unfortunately, Karen is allergic to strawberries. Can you figure out which smoothies are safe for her? It's all about the color. Only the green and yellow smoothies don't contain any strawberries for sure. Other options are risky. Karen enters a spa center. The manager asks her to wait for 15 minutes. Karen takes a seat and falls asleep. She wakes up after a while and finds out that someone had given her a heart-shaped tattoo. She questions three suspects. Bobby, the client, says, "Lady, I've just arrived on my motorbike. If I see any crazy tattoo artists around here, I'll tell you." Leah says, "I've been cleaning the bathroom within the last 30 minutes. And Tony, the massage therapist, says, "Sorry, I was busy with my client, so I didn't look at you at all." Who's lying? Bobby. This motorbike has flat tires, and besides, it was already there when Karen entered the spa. Luckily, the tattoo was temporary, and the massage therapist helped Karen to remove it, but he charged her $5 for his help. Karen arrived at the spa during happy hours when they offer a 45% discount on all services, so Karen paid only $12 for a 1-hour massage. Also, she had a pedicure for $7. When Karen left, she found a $50 bill on the ground. How much money did Karen spend in total? Can you count? Karen spent a total of $24. As for this $50 bill, it's fake, so it doesn't make any difference. Karen brings her clothes to the local laundry owned by three sisters. She returns to pick up her stuff in 5 hours. Unfortunately, someone has burned her favorite dress with an iron. Karen gets furious and questions the sisters. Mia says, "I didn't iron today. It must be Pia." Pia says,
Nah, I was planting roses in the garden all day. It must be Gia.
and Gia says, "I don't know who's guilty because I've been away all day." Who burned Karen's dress? It was Pia. Take a look at the garden. Can you see any roses? Exactly. Karen returns to her hotel room and finds a huge bouquet in a vase. The note says, "Love, your secret admirer." Karen calls the reception to find out more. The manager says, "One of the hotel's male guests ordered the flowers, but I can't reveal his name." Only 3 male guests stay in this hotel at the moment: Hans, Jacques, and Will. Karen meets them all at the beach and spots her secret admirer right away. Do you have any clue who it might be? Karen received pink lilies. Take a look at Hans's shirt. It has a print with pink lilies. He loves these flowers, but this doesn't prove anything. Will has a tan line from a wedding ring, and he's taking pictures of his wife surfing. But Jacques is writing in the sand, and his handwriting looks suspiciously similar to the love note. Spotted! Karen and Jacques go for a walk. He brings her to a pier with 3 boats. Jacques says, "If you manage to guess where my boat is, I'm going to give it away to you." Can you help Karen find the right answer? Someone's sleeping on the second boat, but this doesn't mean that the person is the owner. The third boat is called Jacques, but this name is quite popular. Let's take a closer look at the first boat. Can you see the red trousers on a hanger? They match perfectly with Jacques' jacket. Therefore, this is his boat. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could find was a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor of the room behind the first door were made entirely of the magnifying glass, which meant that sunlight burned anyone who entered. The second door hid a room filled with toxic gas. And behind the third door, there was a hungry lion. Which door should Atlas choose to escape? He should wait for the night to fall and walk through the first door. Sarah accidentally pulled a lever in a science lab and set free a group of mutant zombies. There were 4 people inside, and they needed to escape before the zombies caught up with them. They had 17 minutes to cross the bridge. Sarah was the fastest one. She could cross it in 1 minute. Lab assistant Dawn could get to the other side in 2 minutes. But the janitor and the professor needed 5 and 10 minutes to cross the bridge. How can they get to the other side if the bridge can only hold 2 people at a time? And each group needs to carry the only lantern they have to illuminate the way. Here's how it works. Sarah and Dawn cross first, carrying the lantern. It takes them 2 minutes. Then, Sarah runs back with the lantern. She hands the lantern to the professor and the janitor. They cross the bridge together in 10 minutes. That makes 13 minutes. Dawn grabs the lantern and dashes across the bridge to help Sarah get across. It takes him 2 minutes to get her, and then they need 2 minutes to return. Sarah and Dawn arrive safely, just in time to cut the rope. One evening, Beth called the police to report a crime. She told the officer that she had just been robbed and asked the police to come to her house straight away. When the police arrived at Beth's place, they found her tied up in a chair in the middle of her living room. They asked her what happened, and she told them that a masked guy had broken into her house, stolen all her money, and tied her up in a chair. The police immediately arrested Beth for misreporting. Why? Because if she had been tied up, she wouldn't have been able to call the police. She most likely made the whole thing up. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack a bag for her trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back, she told her mother all about the trip. But at one point during the conversation, she asked why her mom hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where she had really been on that weekend. How did she figure it out? because Sydney's mother did actually pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone to the camp, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Susan can't remember who her husband is. Can you help her figure it out? Well, it must be the guy on the left. Look, they're wearing matching rings. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic. There was also a note. It said that there was $1 million inside one of the bags. It also added that the other 2 bags were empty. Kimberly only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash. And only one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag claimed, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the inscriptions is true, then the money can't be in the second or third bag. Ben asked his boss for some time off. He wanted to go on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss allowed him to go on one condition. Ben had to send him pictures every day, and that's what Ben did. He sent his boss many different pictures on his icy adventure. On Ben's first day back at work, his boss fired him, saying Ben had lied to him and he had never been to Antarctica. How did the boss know? Take a closer look at these pictures. There aren't any palm trees in Antarctica, are there? It looks like Ben went to the seaside and forgot to remove the palms from his pictures. Becca came back after a 2-week vacation in Egypt. During her trip, she bought a beautiful emerald and wanted to show it off to some of her friends. She threw a party just for her closest friends, but the next day, she noticed that the emerald was gone. Becca immediately called a detective and asked him to help her find the thief. She showed him some of the pictures she had taken the night before. The detective took a quick look at the photos and almost immediately realized who had done it. Take a look at these pictures. How did the detective find the culprit? Look at the girl wearing a hat. At 1 a.m., her hat is flat. But at 2 a.m., her hat suddenly becomes pointy. Weirdly imitating the shape of the emerald, she must be the thief. On a rainy evening, Dylan is driving home. He passes by a bus stop. 3 people standing there ask him for a ride. Dylan has only one seat in his car to offer, but he really wants to help all these people. It's an elderly lady that seems to be freezing, a doctor who claims that he needs to get to the hospital for an urgent appointment. And there's also the woman Dylan has a crush on. What should Dylan do to help everyone? Dylan can offer the doctor to borrow his car, but he should also ask him to drive the elderly lady home first. As for the guy himself, he can wait at the bus stop with the girl he has a crush on until the doctor comes back and returns his car. Lily was the manager of a men's clothing store. She was walking around the store when she noticed that a pair of expensive green pants was missing. She went over to the fitting rooms to check if someone had left the pants there. Instead, she saw 3 men getting ready to leave the store. Lily immediately understood who had stolen the pants. Take a look at this image and check if you can figure out which man is the thief. It's the man on the right. He's wearing black pants, but you can see something green peeking from under his pant legs. He must be wearing the stolen pants under his own. Josh was walking through a forest at night and came across an old castle. Pretty soon, he met 3 cloaked figures. When Josh asked them who they were, they answered that they were 2 werewolves and 1 vampire. The trio told Josh that he had made a bad decision when he entered the castle. They also said they wouldn't let him leave unless Josh outsmarted them. Josh had to guess which one of them was the vampire. The guy was only allowed to ask each one of them one question. And it couldn't be, "Are you a vampire?" After a few minutes of thinking, Josh asked, "What's your eye color?" He guessed who the vampire was and was allowed to leave the castle. Why did he ask this? And how did that question help him? Vampires don't reflect in mirrors and don't appear in photos, so the vampire probably wouldn't know what color their eyes are. April, May, and June are 3 sisters. One day, April says, "Girls, have you noticed that we're all born in the 3 months our names signify, but none of us was born in the month of her name?" "Yes, it's a bit confusing," the girl who was born in May replied. "Who was born when?" Since no one is called their birth month, then April must be born either in May or June. But the girl who responded to her was born in May, so April was born in June. The girl who responded can't be May and can't be April, so she is June. And the girl who remained silent must be May, who was born in April. It was summer break, and Riley's friends invited her to go camping. Riley didn't like camping, but she also didn't want to admit that she'd rather stay at home watching TV. So she said that her parents had invited her to go on vacation, but she stayed at home and was binge-watching TV shows. Her family was sending her vacation photos, and Riley photoshopped herself in one of them and sent it to her friends. When her friends saw the photo, they realized that Riley wasn't on vacation. How? Look, Riley is the only person in the photo who doesn't cast a shadow. Mrs. Collins went on a business trip and her daughter stayed in the house alone. Of course, the girl wanted to throw a party. Her mother knew it was inevitable, so she gave her permission, but on one condition. There should be no more than 5 people in the house. In the late evening, Mrs. Collins called a neighbor and asked her to check the house. Here's what the neighbor saw when she approached the house. How many girls are partying there? There are just 4 girls visible in the windows, but it doesn't mean that we can see everyone. Let's better count the shoes by the door. There are 6 pairs of shoes, so there must be 6 girls inside. And now here's a tricky riddle for you. There are 4 houses on the street. The red house is made of red bricks. The yellow house is made of yellow bricks. Next, there's a white house that is made of white bricks. And the last house is a green house. What is the green house made of? Well, greenhouses are made of glass. Did you get it right or did I trick you? Mrs. Jones finished cooking dinner and went to the living room to call her triplets for dinner. When she walked in, she saw her favorite vase shattered on the floor. "Who did it?" she asked, but none of them admitted. Look at the triplets and tell who you think is guilty. It must be this boy in the middle. Look, his hands are dirty and the same stains can also be observed on the shattered vase. Cassidy participated in a game show and she won. She won 3 exclusive gifts: an Apple smartphone, an original Louis Vuitton purse, and a Cadillac. But here's a catch. She is to pick her presents herself by choosing between an original and a replica. Will you help her pick the correct prize? Here are 2 iPhones. One of them is an original and one of them is a replica. Which one should Cassidy choose? This one has the correct logo, so it must be the original. Now, there are 2 identical purses, but only one of them is an original Louis Vuitton purse. Which one? This one, with the correct logo. And finally, a Cadillac. Can you recognize the original logo? This is the one! Evie has always wanted to get a dog, but her mom wouldn't allow her. Once, she found a puppy on the street and brought it home and hid it from her mother. Evie had kept it for 2 weeks without her mom knowing. But one morning, Evie's mom walked into the room and realized that there was a dog living in her daughter's room. How did she understand it? Look, there's a dog bowl and dog food in Evie's room. Amanda lives in a small town. Her favorite artist just announced that she will come there for a concert. So, Amanda needs money to get a ticket, and she decides to find a summer job. She has 3 options. One option is to work on a project in a call center, which will last a month, and she will get $350 in the end. The second option is to work in an ice cream shop, where she will earn $90 a week. The third option is walking the dog of one of her neighbors, and she'll get $10 per day for this. Which job should she take to earn the $170 needed for the concert ticket as soon as possible? A call center is a bad option. It'll take her a whole month to get the money. If she walks the dogs, she'll have $170 in 17 days. But if she works in the ice cream shop, she'll earn $180 in just 2 weeks. That's the fastest option. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. But she found a witch's house. The witch agreed to send Esme home, but only if she helps her first. The witch was making a new potion and needed one of the herbs from the box.
It's one of the big ones with leaves, and not next to the one with the orange flower.
Which one is it? Okay, there are just 3 big ones, so it's one of those. Not next to the orange flower, so not this one. And only one of the remaining ones has leaves, so this is the one. In a big airport, the bags of 3 strangers got messed up. Take a look inside the bags and decide which bag belongs to whom. Okay, the bag with dresses and makeup most probably belongs to this woman. The bag with the professional photo camera probably doesn't belong to the blind man, so it's the bag of the other man. And the last bag belongs to him. Mrs. Lawrence had 3 teenage daughters, Leah, Chloe, and Della. They were all grounded and couldn't leave the house. Still, a neighbor saw one of the girls in a mall. Mrs. Lawrence came home and asked the girls what they were doing. "I was in the house preparing for my history test," said Leah. "I was doing puzzles in my room," shrugged Chloe. "I was gardening," said Della. Who lied? Look, Leah and Della both have dirty shoes. That's not suspicious of Della since she was in the garden. But Leah wouldn't get her shoes dirty if she spent the day in the house with a history book. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not let any suspicious people get in. Take a look at these 3 ID cards and figure out who wasn't supposed to enter the club. So here's the first one. She seems fine. Let her in. What do you say about this guy? Don't let him in. The month and date are flipped. He must have a fake ID. Okay, next. Look. In or out? Look, the photo of this young lady isn't made on a white background, as documents require. That's suspicious. So the ID must be fake. Ned shouldn't let her in. Okay, here's the next guest. What's your verdict? He seems fine to me. What about this woman? In or out? She seems all right. Green light. Okay, another one. In or out? Look, the woman in the pictures looks similar to the woman in reality, but she has a different eye color. It must be a different person. I wouldn't let her in.
Now, Foggy is a friendly ghost living in the attic of an old house. Every night, he goes for a refreshing walk around the house for 4 hours. Foggy doesn't like 1 month of the year because that month he gets to walk around way less than the previous months. What's the month and why? It's February. There are just 28 days and nights in February, and 29 on the luckiest years. So, fewer nights and less time for Foggy to walk around. Just a month ago, Autumn and her family moved into a new house. Everyone loved it, but Autumn was sure that the house was haunted. She doesn't know it yet, but our old friend Foggy is the ghost that lives in her attic. He is a friendly ghost, so once he left her a message written on a mirror. Autumn woke up and saw this. Can you help her read the message? It's a code. Autumn should ignore the numbers and only look at the letters. The note says, "Do not be afraid. I am Foggy. And who are you?" Right before Halloween, when everyone was dressed up and carefree, all the creatures flooded a little town trying to blend in. Detective Callum was on duty to identify all the imposters and keep an eye on them. He has a couple of leads, and your task is to help him find all the monsters. Deal? The first one we need to find is a vampire. The vampire lives in one of these 2 houses. Can you tell which one? Look, there is garlic hanging in this house. Vampires can't stand garlic, they prefer cilantro, so it cannot be a vampire's house. So the vampire lives in this one. Perfect, let's move on. One of these houses belongs to a centaur. Do you have any idea which one? It must be this one. Pay closer attention to the path to the house. There are footprints of horse hooves. Centaurs have an upper body of a human, but a lower body of a horse, which explains the prints. The centaurs must be living here. The next one we need to track is a mummy. Take a closer look at these two apartments. Where does the mummy reside? Now, did you notice the bandages all over the room here? It must belong to the mummy, so I bet that's his place. Now it's time to track the Cyclops. Keep your eye out and make your best guess. Did you notice this strange object in this room? It looks like a pair of glasses, but it only has one lens. Well, that's because it belongs to a Cyclops. They only have one eye. So that must be his place. Okay, we only have one last creature to identify, a gnome. Here are two apartments. Which one does the gnome live in? Did you notice that the mirror in this apartment hangs a bit too low? That's because gnomes are short. He must be living here. Other creatures that have flooded the town are robots. For Halloween, some people started to dress up like them, too. Look at these three people. Can you find the fake robot? Look at their footprints. The robot on the left has human footprints in the beginning that only later change into tire patterns. He must be the fake robot. Let's train your eyes a bit. Here are Halloween emojis. All of them but one has a pair. Can you find the one that doesn't have a pair? Great job! Here it is. Okay, one more time. Now there are even more emojis. Do you see the unique one? Here it is. Good! Now let's proceed. A month before Halloween, Daphne moved into a new modern house that was built in the early 2000s. It was a great house, but Daphne got it for a very low price because it was believed to be haunted. The girl didn't believe in that, so it didn't bother her one bit. On Halloween night, she returned home after midnight. When she walked into her room, she saw a ghost floating there. The ghost looked at Daphne and said, "You know what? You can't live here. It's my house. I've lived here for 100 years and you're making me uncomfortable." Daphne said that the ghost was lying. Why? The house was built in the early 2000s, so it's barely 20 years old. The ghost couldn't have lived there for 100 years. That's right, ghosts lie. It is Halloween night, full moon, all the creepy things, but Eslyn went to an abandoned spooky house in the woods alone. As soon as she walked in, the door behind her got shut and locked. She wandered around the house and found 3 doors leading out, but they didn't seem safe. Behind the first door, there was a werewolf. Behind the second door, there was a zombie. Behind the third door, there was a ghost. Which way is safer for her to choose? Eslyn should definitely choose the third door. Ghosts may be spooky, but they can't do her any real harm. Of course, Eslyn wasn't the only one who went to the house that night. Another student, Colton, dressed in the silver armor of a knight, decided to explore the spooky house too. Just like with Eslyn, the door got shut behind him right after he stepped into the house. He found 3 ways out too. Behind the first door, there was a vampire. Behind the second door, there was a huge dragon who hates strangers. Behind the third door, there was a huge cyclops that would crash anyone who walks in. Which way should Colton choose to stay safe? Luckily for him, he is dressed as a knight in silver armor. Vampires are afraid of silver, so the first way is totally safe for Colton. On Halloween night, Kennedy wanted to spend the evening with her boyfriend, but her dad was against her dating anyone. To go around it, she lied that she was going to trick-or-treat with her friends and promised to be home by midnight. She returned at 11:30 p.m. Yet her dad got mad at her and demanded to tell him where she really was. Wow! How did he understand that Kennedy didn't go trick-or-treating? She returned with an empty candy basket. Outside of town, hidden in the woods, there is a house where a group of friends live. A mummy, a mermaid, a ghost, a werewolf, and a witch. Every Halloween, they eat candy. There are 5 creatures, but this year they only have 4 chocolate bars, and they don't know how to split them equally. Maybe you have an idea? They should split each one of the 4 bars into 5 pieces, and then each creature gets a piece from each bar. This way, everyone will eat exactly 4 pieces of chocolate. Now that monsters and humans live next to each other, let's try to identify who is who. I will be showing you photos, and your task is to find a monster in each photo. Here's the first one. Can you find the monster? Look, this guy's skin is green. He's definitely not a human. Here is the next photo for you. Be attentive. Do you see someone who is not a human here? This girl in the swimming pool is a mermaid. Good job. Okay, here's one more. It's quite hard, but I believe in you. Who do you think is not a human here? Look, this woman doesn't cast a shadow. Now this is not normal for a human being, so she must be some other creature. Great job! Here's another one for you. Which one do you bet isn't a human? This person is carrying a wand. She must be a witch. This is probably the hardest one. You have to keep your eyes wide open. A photo of a local cafe. Do you see something suspicious? Look, there's a glass of blood in the air, as if someone's drinking it. It must be the vampire who's drinking it, but the vampire isn't in the photo because they can't be photographed. Technicalities.